Good day. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for this DotFit Masterclass. And we have a very hot topic to cover today, supplements for weight and fat loss. We have a ton of information that Neil has put together for you in this presentation. We'll have it available as a handout as well as a recording and download for later on, so not to worry. So just to cover a couple of housekeeping items. You are in listen-only mode. I'm your host, Kat Bearfield, a DotFit's registered dietitian. And of course, you'll see by my side, Neil Spruce, our founder and fearless leader. And you'll have all the time that Neil stuck around the whole time to answer all of your questions. So in order to ask a question in the GoToWebinar window, there's a little section called questions, and you just have to click on the little arrow, type your question in, and we'll field those at the end. So without further ado, take it away, Neil. Supplements for weight and fat loss.
Thanks, Kat. I'm going to let a few minutes go by because there's like people coming on every second right now. But it's a little housekeeping on my side. The deck that we're going to go through is full of all the information and accompanying references. So it's only there for that reason. So when you download it, you have everything you need in one place for anything that we have to do with weight loss, right? When it comes to the products. So I'm going to obviously be glancing through some of them, just summarizing the key points so we don't take 3 hours today. Okay, even though I'd love to, and I'm definitely stay on here and ask for all your questions, no matter how long that goes. But you'll see me just, I have some diagrams up there. We'll quickly just look at about how some of the mechanisms of actions of some of the ingredients. But more importantly, it's for you to download and have. So I just wanted it all in one place for you. So we will go through it. So I don't have to take any more than maybe. Well, my goal is to be done with this thing in 40 minutes so that you guys have forever to be able to ask as many questions as possible. Okay, I think we can go ahead and let's see. Got it? Okay. All right, there's still people coming on, but we're good. We're good to go. All right, so supplements for weight and /fat loss. You notice I'm going to be doing this all the way through it because people come in with a weight loss goal. As a responsible health professional, it should be a fat loss goal, not a weight loss goal. And so I'm really tying that together for all of you, and that's why we need to look at it. And it's okay to lose, some muscle weight, especially if you're obese, because you've got a lot of extra muscle there carrying around the extra weight that you have been for a long time. But it's not a good idea to lose any for your average person at all. In fact, we'd like to put it on. Anyway, so let's get started with this. Now, there's two parts to this, right? And anytime you see it, by the way, every one of the blue underlined stuff, those are hot links that will take you right to the references up on the Practitioner Dietary Supplement Reference Guide place or some other place on our site. So when you download it, you'll be able to use those things. Okay, so look, there's two parts to a fitness professional, like all of you, when it comes to weight loss. So you have one, we have to support structural and functional integrity, which of course is lean body mass. All right, in order to do that, which any lean body mass, organs, muscle, brain, everything shrinks when you lose weight. When you cut your calories, everything shrinks. We have to support structural and functional integrity first. And that would include a multivitamin to fill the gaps that are exacerbated by restricted diets. And then, of course, protein goes up as weight loss occurs. The protein requirement goes significantly higher to be able to protect lean body mass. All right. And then there's the second part of making the journey easier, which is another huge part. And these are the three products related to that. Okay, so those three products related, those are the ones we're going to break down. Making the journey easier is important to get people addicted to fitness faster. And that's the whole idea. I'll put it in perspective as we get going. All right, so here we go. Now I want to start out, this is just an introduction. This is just where the support document is. This is our position on weight loss. And I think, you guys that have taken your course and your DotFit certification in the last 2 years, you've seen all this, but without a doubt, we know how difficult diets are, which is like 90% of people gain it back in the first year. It's getting a little bit better, there's no question. But if you don't have a real motivation is the key to success. What is driving you? What is a trigger event in your life that finally got you to succeed? Okay, and if you're not making a living with your body, or you've got to be in a certain shape, it is very difficult and challenging for most everyone. So, and it generally ends with, of course, weight regain. So we know that. That's number one. Quickly, our position is that for body fat, or should we say, reduction, we recommend obviously exercise or some sort of voluntary movement and calorie-controlled meal planning based on desired rate of fat loss, but healthy, of course. And of course, avoid loss of lean body mass, which means you have to fill all the nutrient gaps that are exacerbated by restricted food intake that's produced by a diet or calorie restricted diet. And at a very minimum, a multivitamin mineral that has at least 19 or 20 of the different vitamins and minerals that our body needs. And we're simply, that you guys all know, that's an easy thing to do for you. But that's like at a minimum, no matter what. And then finally, we also know that their appropriate supplementation has been shown to fill gaps. We just talked about preserve lean body mass, of course, and lessen the workload to avoid plateaus or just giving up, period. And increase energy expenditure, total energy expenditure, and manage appetite until lifestyle conforms. Okay, and these are what we call specialty supplements. All right, so here's the question I get asked: hey, should I supplement during weight loss? Well, then I throw in fat loss. So if it's just weight loss, the answer is no. Don't supplement, because you're going to lose weight much quicker in the beginning, because you're subtracting the nutrients within the calories. So your upside is the number goes down on the scale a little quicker in the very beginning, only because you're going to come to a very early plateau because of the addition of loss of lean body mass along with fat. And by the way, that's what diet centers used to do. They would always tell you, don't exercise, because they were afraid you'd hold on to weight, hold on to muscle. And they wouldn't want you to supplement either, because you would lose it faster because you're paying by the pound to lose weight. But that got nixed later on. Of course, they got busted for all that back in the 80s. Downside is obvious to all of you because you've been around this long enough. Early plateaus forcing continuous calorie reductions, which of course is going to lead to a greater loss of appetite, and which is obviously just going to be accelerated cravings on top of that. And exacerbated micronutrient shortages, we just talked about that, which will compromise your structure and functional integrity, including bone loss. People lose bone during weight loss as well. And of course, then with less energy as muscle and organs begin to shrink, and that leads to decreasing daily activities. In other words, you just don't feel like doing stuff anymore. And by the way, this is what the body's supposed to do. This is what his body's job is, to keep you from ever dieting, because you're not supposed to diet. And again, of course, a greater chance of rebounding because low calorie intake is almost unsustainable. By the time you keep lowering your calories when you're not supplementing, you end up with ridiculously low calories. And you get to that place where you just smell food and get fat. You heard people talk about that before. And then finally, your body composition. Just so you've compromised that both structurally, as we just talked about, but visually. We refer to these people as skinny fat people, and they're going to break down early in life. All right, now for fat loss, the answer is yes, because you're adding the nutrients with little to no calories. You're filling your gaps to feed all the lean body mass, because that's where all the nutrients are, lean body mass. We get to preserve lean body mass, which would be muscle, bones, organs, and avoid common plateaus because of the continuous calorie reductions, which won't take place if you still got your lean body mass, or certainly not as often. Supports appetite, diet stress. By supplementing, we can do those things. Supports simultaneously gaining lean body mass like we do for athletes. We can actually put muscle on while they lose body fat, which some people go, that's impossible. Well, we do it all the time, and I'm for sure you guys know it because you do it too when you're supplementing. And increase total daily energy expenditure by supplementing. And of course, that would also maintain or improve your health. And then, of course, structural and functional integrity, which is because we're feeding the muscle. We're feeding muscle and starving fat. Body composition is healthy and generally visually desirable. In other words, your tone. The other person has no tone. And it reduces the rebound potential. Downside? Well, in the beginning, and by the way, you should guys all know, I mean, I introduced measuring body fat in the gyms in the early 80s. And the reason I did was because, people would come in with weight loss goals. They were leaving diet centers and they were coming into our clubs now for weight loss goals. And the problem is, I'm feeding muscle and starving fat just like I would for any athlete, because that's the way we should treat every human being properly, so that they have success in weight loss. And the scale wouldn't go down low enough. So I said, okay, let's just monitor body fat and watch that go down. That's going down faster than anything possible. So it was always a tough conversation for people that were just stuck on a number on the scale. And that's the only downside. If someone's stuck on a number, it will decline slower with no supplementation, than with no supplementation. All right, so there's just a little thing there. You should post that. You should actually post that on your wall in your clubs, and then see how people react to it. And then Kat did this for me here. Some top Google searches for weight loss aids. We couldn't find one for diet and exercise, but we found plenty of them for detoxes and cleanses. Can you believe that? It's pretty amazing. But I mean, and detoxes are complete quackery, and cleanses are complete quackery. So, you know, but look what people are looking for. They're looking for some kind of pill to make this thing work so they don't have to necessarily diet and exercise. Or they've tried diet and exercise and it hasn't worked for them, because we all know exercise is not a weight loss solution. In fact, it's counterproductive to weight loss, as you know, which is why it's considered not a weight loss solution. And that's why diet has to be incorporated with it properly. Anyway, this is fairly interesting here. When we couldn't find one single Google search for using diet and exercise as a weight loss solution. But lots of this stuff, lots of quackery. All right, so what we're up against. So what I wanted to tell you, I said this earlier, humans are designed to gain weight and never lose it. That is an evolutionary maturity of our species. All mammals are designed to gain weight and never lose it, which means as soon as you try to lose whatever weight you gained, your body's going to beat the crap out of you until you end up gaining it back. That's its job. So you're working against something that is designed to do the opposite of what you want. All right, so again, we know that dieting, which has become a necessary evil in our society because of environmental trappings, it's often fruitless, you know, obviously. And of course, it is damaging because of loss of lean body mass, the micronutrient deficiencies. And a metabolism down-regulates to adjust to your lower calories, because that's its job. That's how it protected our ancient humans. It protected us by lowering everything way down. And the way it lowers is it gets rid of lean body mass, which uses the calories. All right, and of course that causes stress, frustration, and depression, and next thing you know, weight regain, because you just can't sustain it, because you're not supposed to, because the body is fighting you all the way around. Look at these typical defenses the body has against dieting. I don't care who you are, whether you're a bodybuilder, whether you're a football player, or whether you're a desk jockey. The same activities are taking place in your body because you evolved not to do. You evolved to eat everything in front of you because food would be around maybe every 2 weeks after a hunt. So you had to eat it all. It might take 2 days to eat it all when you bring it all back to the tribe. You would eat everything for 1 or 2 days, and then you would go hunt again, and you had to eat everything. But we're designed to do that. But what happens is, as we don't get food for the next day, the body becomes very efficient on how it burns calories. So it starts to burn less. And that's happening right there. As soon as you lose weight, you obviously burn less calories. Whether it's fat or muscle, it doesn't matter. You're burning less calories and you're moving less weight across gravity. So obviously that is what's happening. You're now a smaller human being all the way around. So of course you're going to burn less calories. And then you become efficient in your movement. Fitness, the more fit you get, you know, ironically, the less calories you burn. You know, when you're out of shape, you've got a heart rate of 120, you know, just it's a resting heart rate. When you're in shape, it's down to 30 or down to 50 or 60. Okay, well, you're obviously burning less calories. That happens all the time. Walking upstairs when you're fit, you burn way less calories than an unfit person walking upstairs, even if you're the same weight. So it's really an amazing dynamic, and we call it a paradox. So we also have decreased energy levels. Your body automatically makes you more tired so you don't move as much, so you conserve those calories to stay alive during famine. And that all happens. Your thyroid starts to shut down. All these things happen these are just natural things. This is not anything happen. This is just from losing weight. Once you gain weight, all kinds of things go on. And then, of course, your appetites, your craving, leptin, ghrelin, you know, these are your appetite hormones, and we have some other ones as well that are going to drive you crazy until you begin to refeed yourself. All right, and then you combine this. Now, here's where it gets really funky. That's what none of this stuff matters. Of all the stuff I just did to you right here, none of that matters if we still lived you know, obviously before the Industrial Revolution and before food became widely available. In fact, if I'll put you on that island, Survivor, this stuff is really, really important, okay? And you wouldn't want to change it. But we got screwed because all of a sudden we all started living together and food became available to everybody. Basically, as hominids, we're 4 million years old, right? As Homo sapiens, 100,000. Well, we've been starved to death our entire lives. All those millions and 100,000 years, we've been starved. And guess what? Relatively speaking, we woke up in a banquet room in one day. What the hell do you think we're going to do? We're going to eat everything we can possibly do. That's, you're wired to do that. You're wired to only move if necessary, never work out, never exercise. You know, that is a Western phenomenon. You would always save all your energy for the hunt or for agriculture, whatever you had to do. Right? You wouldn't catch cave people working out before they went out. You know, it's just not going to happen. You're conservatives. You're never supposed to move unless you have to. We also now have food everywhere, and the food is getting better and better tasting. Every food scientist knows what we're addicted to. We're addicted to sugar, fat, and salt. And those are the things that we'll always be addicted to. So everything is laced one way or another with that. All right. Then you got the advertising. You're being bombarded with incredible foods. And if you happen to be hungry, you're just going to go back into your pantry and find something. Time constraints. You know, we pick up fast food. A vocation. We're trapped. We're trapped at a desk. You know, and we don't have that time to go out and obviously chase our food, let alone go out and exercise often. And our social calendar. You can't just go to someone's house for Christmas or dinner or Thanksgiving and turn down stuff. So you end up doing it. And exercise alone, as we made very clear, and all these studies are here, and brand new ones just came out, does not work. It is powerless due to the amount needed to reduce body weight once you gain it. The goal is to be addicted to exercise early in life, like all of us, and you never have to worry about that because now it's an addiction. It's an environmental pressure addiction that we have. We put it on ourselves. Well, our goal is to get people over those things very quick. So at the end of the day, here's what's happened. We have a clash of evolutionary-driven genetics, which I explained to you earlier, which is that all species have to survive and reproduce. That is just the nature of the beast. And now with successive environmental trappings, they clash. And it does not work. So dieting has become a necessary evil for the majority of the population. Okay, addressing the obstacles. So supplements that can address any of the obstacles we talk about can ease the journey. That's what we're talking about. And they can do it better than prescription drugs. No one has found a drug yet that works. Because I'll tell you what, and I'll tell you this right now, whoever finds that drug that really works will be the multi-billionaire of all time. There will be nobody even close if we can find a drug that actually works. But here's the problem, just so you know, and why there's no magic supplement or drug or anything. Okay, there's things that you can do, incorporate into your lifestyle that can help, like we're going to talk about, but no magic. Because of the redundancy in the appetite in mammals. In other words, there's about 10,000 different triggers that trigger appetite. Not just leptin or ghrelin. There's all types of other ones that control it and trigger it. So if one gets damaged just from a genetic mutation, you won't just stare at food and starve to death. Another one will pick up for you. So to be able to hit every one of these myriad triggers, appetite triggers, would be impossible. So you've just got to kind of find the ones that stand out the most. Okay, so all formulas in this section we're going to be talking about have been safely used by thousands of you out there and for their clients seeking weight control. So when I get, though this notes in here, a multivitamin and a meal replacement is probably something everyone is going to do the rest of their lives one way or another. But when I get to the specialty section, so the Carb Repel, the Thermic Cell, and weight loss and liver support, those things are just temporary, and I'll show you how we do that. So job one, as I talked about right off the bat, we'll go quickly through this. Job one during weight loss is to preserve, because you're a fitness professional. In fact, it's criminal not to address this first, in my opinion, because you are really weakening the structure of the human that you're working with if you're not looking at this first. And that is to preserve or improve their structural and functional integrity, which is their lean body mass, so muscles, organs, and bones. So that's job one. We got to protect that as we get rid of the stuff they don't want. So that's the two essential items are your multi and your protein, okay? And of course, you can use any of them. We're going to talk about Lean MR because that's the one that we use for weight loss, but you can use any of these as a meal replacement. You can just dress it up the way you want. But let's start. This is not negotiable, And you should make this very clear. And don't forget, your multivitamins are far better than anybody else's. It would take you at least 3 different products to be able to make you an active multi or a vegan multi or over 50 or a women's multi. It takes you 3 different products to make up a formula like that. Would cost you 3 times more. So again, you've got it nailed with all the right vitamins and minerals in there that we know are underconsumed in Western diets. So this is not negotiable. And it's mainly because no matter what, we know that micronutrient insufficiencies exist in virtually all Western diets. But of course, obviously, they are exacerbated by a reduction in food because the nutrients are in the food. And here's the newest one. That reference is wrong on top where it says 2009. This is actually 2015 to 2020 DGA, Dietary Guidelines. We made it to that. We just got to take that little one off and add the new one there. And you can see, I think Kat's done that below here for me. So these are the gaps. This is everyone that's not taking a multivitamin. These are the numbers, the gap, which means that you've got, everybody has at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 of these, okay? But look at this. This is a ridiculous number. So what that looks like all in all is this. The yellow area and the orange area are typical intakes based on what we know. So that's typical U.S. intakes. And our goal, if you look at the line on the left, going up top, our goal is to get 100% vitamin mineral activity throughout the body. That's what our goal is. And of course, we know what that number is. It's the RDA. That's why we said it. Recommended dietary allowances, that's the RDA. Okay, and so we get to a place where it's optimal. And as long as we don't go too far, which is significantly past that, what we call the tolerable limit, we have a very large range of safe and optimal range. And you can see the concentration of the nutrient on the bottom. The typical U.S. intakes are in that little black line right here, as you can see, right here. And then our goal is to fill those gaps to get everybody inside the middle. Okay. So here are the items and minerals we have here. Our purpose is to maximize all the vitamin mineral activity so you end up looking like this. That's what the goal is. And of course, what vitamin minerals, their activities are: structural integrity, muscle, bones, organs. Of course, they're made up of vitamin minerals, and vitamin minerals produce and put together all the cells continually. In other words, your cells are reproducing, all trillions of cells are reproducing constantly. And of course, they're all driven by vitamin mineral activities in order to get that done. And of course, vitamin minerals also can support appetite when they're fully dressed and when you have a full load, because you're not missing nutrients that you end up craving foods to get those nutrients. And then stress management. You'd be surprised how vitamin mineral supplementation can help with stress during dieting as well. And these are all associated. It's a whole list of studies here that you'll see in your support documents. The vitamin mineral supplement users are associated. They're leaner. Energy substrate utilization is better. In other words, they use fat for energy more than they use carbohydrate. Their energy expenditure is better. They burn more calories, and they have less cravings for the reasons we just talked about. So this is just a natural thing that's not negotiable for anybody as a health professional. It certainly wouldn't be on my side. All right, now protein. Let's go to jump to this for structural integrity still. Intakes between 25 to 50% of calories are the most successful during weight loss. That's a big number. But obviously, when you get to the 50%, you're probably a physique athlete. Because protein is going up as calories are going down. So you've got like a double whammy happening right there to protect lean body mass. But take a look at this. Obviously, the mechanisms of action for protein in supporting fat loss, it preserves lean body mass regardless of how bad your diet is. So whether you're doing one of those, intermittent fasting diets, or whether you're doing a keto diet, which, is obviously not an athlete's diet, but, if you're going to do it, no matter what happens, no matter what kind of diet, protein can preserve lean body mass. Now, of course, protein's not that much protein is allowed in keto diets. But just take a look at these simple stats here. 2 times the RDA versus the RDA. And 2 times the RDA is nothing, right? Very little. Reduced lean body mass, reduced the loss of lean body mass by 300%. So in this study here, you got a loss of only 3 pounds at double the RDA versus 9.5, and that's in 20 weeks. And that's pathetic, So that's how bad it is when you're trying to stick to numbers. And of course, and that's only 2 times the RDA. The other part about it also maintains physical performance and energy expenditure. You burn more calories and it keeps you moving. And that also, of course, because you're not losing lean body mass, you have a reduced risk of injuries. Again, these are just all these studies are next to it. I put a note in here for all of you geeks. You know, like me, I always like to stick a little note in here because everybody thinks muscle burns that many more, so many more calories than fat. When in reality, it's not even 3 times more than fat. 6 calories per pound, but that's at rest. And see, that's the caveat here. Fat is always at rest. No matter how fast you're running, it's still at rest. So fat never burns more than 2.2 calories per pound a day. Where as soon as you move, that 6 calories per pound for muscle goes to 12. Move a little faster, it goes to 18. Move a little faster, it goes to 20, and it goes to 18. So however long you can sustain movement. But now you know why it's so hard. Where exercise really is a maintenance tool for weight loss, not an initiator. Okay, so I put that note in there for you geeks that always like numbers. And here's some other kind of cool numbers too. We talked about protein increases your daily energy expenditure, or your calorie burn. So it's the diet-induced thermogenesis, right? Is highest from protein. Protein. So if you look at protein, it's anywhere from 15 to 30% of the calories ingested are used in order to digest it. Carbohydrates down to 5 to 10, and fat pretty much gets a free ride right into your body. Doesn't take anything to absorb it and use it and stick it into someplace. As you can see, 0.3%. And so I took a real example here from a couple studies here. A 1,500 calorie diet at 30 to 36% protein, which is still low, right? I mean, not that high, versus RDA, which is usually around 15%, yields 213 calorie increase in daily, and this is measured. So it's not even using them, it's using a little amount. I didn't use the math above. This was actually measured in metabolic chambers, but check that out. 213, that's huge, right? And then of course the extra O2, the extra oxygen that you need to metabolize protein is probably what leads to protein being a greater satiety tool than the other macronutrients. And all this stuff is in the your lean MR data. Okay, and the increase in fat oxidation, obviously, it shifts energy usage. We call it partitioning of energy rather than drawing off carbs. It'll force you to draw off fats. And of course, greater satiety. I just put the study here for you, less hungry, greater satiety. And that's probably basically because the amino acids actually modulate opioid receptors. And so it has a direct attack on, a higher release of cholecystokinin, which is that hormone that slows down the gastric emptying in the body, so you can stay a little fuller longer. So these are just these are just points for you. And then whey, of all the proteins, without a doubt, you can see the studies I put in here, support whey being better than other casein or any of the other proteins out there. They are the best at doing all the things we just talked about. And that's probably due to the high leucine and very rapid absorption rate. So once it's in there, it can start hitting all the triggers. All right. So because of what you just saw, that's the birth of modern day based meal replacements. And by the way, they are more successful than any known treatment, drug or otherwise. And there's the studies compared. I just put them in here for you. You guys have all seen this. I have to say, Hempfield, this one here kicked everything off for everybody. Just ridiculous, the difference between just using a diet versus a diet including meal replacements. And look at the difference in weight loss. More importantly, was the maintenance. And then here's a collection of a bunch of those studies throughout the years. And you can see that the longer the duration, the greater the weight loss using meal replacements. And I would say it's a lifelong tool for everybody because all it is food. It's just another way of getting food and adding more meals in between and keeping your calories down. And more importantly, it accurately counts your calories. That's the beauty of it. Okay, and then here's meal replacements compared to drugs. And this is pretty amazing. The line there, the black line, of course, you can see how much greater. It's like 1.5 times drugs alone. And the maintenance still, after 18 months, is still better all the way around. But don't forget, they went off the meal replacements at that particular point. So you would stay on them forever. That would be the goal for everybody. And that way you get to eat good food at the same time. So, okay, and then here's one here. This was kind of a nice little tool someone put together here. You look at the pharmacological, the prescription drugs, pretty much look at the side effects on the right, significant, serious, with some drugs receiving FDA approval, then being subsequently withdrawn from the market. And that's only allowing a 5% total weight loss, right? Drop down to meal replacements, 7 to 8%, with really no kind of side effects. But look at bariatric surgery, which is recommended for people that are morbidly obese, because if they don't get that weight off now, their chance of dying is much greater. But it's very high risk to this one, including death. Okay. So there you have it. So here's our answer to that. We put this thing together and we continue to make it stronger and better. We're doing some things to it right now, adding some beta-glucan to it. But and we've also increased the calcium and the potassium in these now, because those are the two most under-consumed nutrients in the U.S. And because of that, what we're trying to do is we're adding a calcium to all of a little bit. We already have it, obviously. There's calcium or 100 mgs, like in any serving of our powders. But we're bumping it up as far as we can, so we do, as long as it doesn't affect the taste, because we want people to get their calcium at the same time they're getting a good meal replacement or a pre-post shake as well, because everybody's low on that. And even though we have a calcium supplement, and this will probably kill some of our calcium cells, slow them down, it's more important that people get it through something like this. And we've also added potassium to it, as you can see, and that will always be on the labels now from now on. So anyway, we think this is the best meal replacement anywhere close to being on the market, and we could probably get some pretty good stats that show that. And beta-glucan, I'm sure you guys have read about this. You actually get a health bragging rights, which is it's a cholesterol-lowering fiber. So we're going to be adding that to that fiber blend that we have, and that's still 7 grams though a serving, right, Chad? Yeah, so it'll be 7 grams a serving total with that. All right, but the macronutrient ratios in this are the ones that you see in studies that actually produce the greatest weight loss. So protein at 42%, and it's a whey isolate, which is simply because there are people that want a low cholesterol whey. By an isolate, of course, we always prefer concentrate because you get all the growth, the globulins and the growth factors that come inside naturally in a dairy protein. But when you make an isolate, you strip everything out. Right, and you do that, so that's why you see naturally in whey concentrate, there's a little more cholesterol than there is in whey isolate, where it has none. They have nothing at all. It's completely, separate. But it's good for anybody that might have allergies to dairy proteins. None of our proteins have lactose in it, so you don't have to worry about that. But anybody that might have a allergy to dairy, they can use an isolate. But more importantly, we just want to make sure the carbohydrate, because people that are very overweight are sometimes told to keep their cholesterol levels down, so we want a very low cholesterol. So about 42% protein, 50% carbs, because they're important during weight loss. So basically in the dietary fats, about 8%, because that allows you to put in whatever fats you want. Some people want a little higher fat in their weight loss diets. That's what this is, the starting mix. You can adjust it any way you want. So just a quick summary of all that. This is what meal replacements do. This is their mechanisms of action. They address all these things, the underreporting, because you got portion control. You can lie to yourself, but a scoop's a scoop, 2 scoops of scoops, you know how much it is. Satiety, because you get more meal frequency, you can add 2 or 3 of these a day into your 2 normal food meals, along or in between them somewhere. So you got meal frequency, you get the fiber, the protein ratio and type we just looked at. And then, of course, the preservation of lean body mass because of the protein type and ratio. You got the whey, and you got the high amount, and then increasing energy expenditure. So all the things we looked at, this addresses it perfectly. And this is the stats to it here. So 2 scoops is right here. I put including beta-glucan. I should straighten this up for you guys now. We will not have the beta-glucan formula ready for 15 weeks. Oh, no, 4. What is it? What'd you say, 4 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 months. So I just didn't want to do this twice. So right now the beta-glucan, it won't say it's in there. Don't worry about that. It's just on the slide here. I just wanted you to know that. We won't have that done till then. All right, because otherwise you'd have to do another one of these, and you guys would have to get on and listen to me one more time every time I change it. So, and we update things pretty fast around here. All right, so how will you use this? This is what I give every single person that ever asks me about weight loss, and there's no exception to this, daily. Now, I'm not talking about like athletes, pro football players or something. They get a lot more than this kind of stuff. They got to make weight. They have a certain amount of time they have to weigh in, or they get fined every day they're not. So it's a different program we use, obviously, for them. But if you're any one of your regular clients, this is where you start them, in my opinion. Your multivitamin mineral, which we just talked about, lead MR, or You know what? Some people just prefer Whey Smooth because it's very low carb, and you can do what you want. You can add carbs, you can add fats, you can do whatever you want. You can use whatever you any. I just think Lean MR is the bomb when it comes to satiety during weight loss. And you can always switch them over some other time to whatever they want. And as needed, of course, your calcium and your fish oil. That's your responsibility to make sure people know that. If you're not getting it from your food, then you're going to have to do these 2 supplements if you want to maintain structural integrity. Here's how you use it. Generally, replace 2 meals a day and allow the freedom of choice from traditional food for the remaining allotted calories, which is generally 2 more meals, right? And always include a multivitamin. So that's what you do. Just recommend 2 small meals, regular meals. I'm going to show you a picture in a minute, with any calorie-restricted diet of 4 to 5 meals. And your maintenance phase is basically the same thing. Consume 4 to 5 meals that include 2 meal replacements for convenience. But also, the meal replacements help ensure diet quality while reducing food costs. I can tell you right now, if you use this for life, your grocery bill is going down. You'll easily pay for this time and time again. So takeaway is 2 small meals. You can always reduce it to 1 or 2 later on once you get your weight under control. But here's a sample diet. Kat put these together for me. So here's a 1,500 calorie diet that includes 2 Lean MR shakes. And here's a 2,000 calorie diet that does the same. So good example. And then don't forget this. This is important here. We've got a great recipe page for Lean MR. Some really, really good ones that our trainers like you have sent in here. They're all up here and just taste fantastic. So make sure you can give that to your client. So there, I just gave your client everything they could possibly need, other than you, of course, to get their weight down. Now, you want to take it 1 step further. So you want to, because don't forget, Lean MR is not a pre-post shake. You understand that because it's got fiber, which slows the digestion down because that's what we want for satiety. But you don't want that for a pre-post shake. You want it in the muscles now, out of the stomach. Empty stomach, full muscle, right? So what you do for people that are really avid work out very hard and want to recover more, and they're on very low calories as well because their weight loss is important, or they have to maintain weight like a fighter, then you end up with your Lean MR and your multivitamins we just talked about, and then Amino Boost before and after, and now you got it done. Now, this is it here, and this is also for anyone. An aging population, because Amino Boost works so well at keeping muscle firing and staving off the inevitable in older people as well, which of course is sarcopenia or the loss of muscle. So this is an ideal sort of long-term health span supplement, of course, as needed. You'll always have that at the bottom, as needed. Okay, now that was job 1. Let's go to job 2. Let's see how I'm doing on time. Okay, we're good. I'm going to go quickly through this as we go through the products. More importantly, you'll have the slides for this. I'm sorry about the slow start today. But job 2, make it happen easily and quickly, healthfully as possible, so that the person gets instant gratification, leads to quicker addiction to fitness. This is really important. So it's a temporary additional supplements for getting over the diet hump. People with time constraints. Kat and I work with some of the most famous people in the world that do movies, and they have to look a certain way. We load them up. They got times. You're working with someone that's they're at a wedding and they're way out of the box. You got to get them down, get going. Or they're in a challenge, one of your weight loss, like the Edge weight loss challenges. You can use these things. Or you've had someone with multiple failures. This can help them get over that diet hump, and then they can really fall in love with the way they look, and now they're addicted to fitness. That's what these are for, to make things happen faster. We call them specialty fat loss supplements. Okay. Everything, the supplements category are to help the person comply with a daily routine that leads to the weight reductions. And they've all been shown to work in one of these ways, one or more. Help create and maintain a calorie deficit by increasing daily expenditure. Raise energy levels to make you more active during the day. Reduce the drive to consume food, so support appetite. Decrease calorie absorption, like carb repel. And support what we call ectopic fat, which is fat deposited in bad places, and that like your liver and your muscle. And that's very important for speeding fat loss and just health, period. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one since we just finished with that. Weight loss and liver support is an appetite with the African mango in it, and of course the liver support comes from the green tea. Also, that also increases energy expenditure, but milk thistle is really the big player in this thing, and N-acetylcysteine as well. So the goal here is deliver these natural substances to support appetite, health, and proper functioning of the liver, especially when that unwanted fat, which we call ectopic fat, accumulates because of weight gain. Because remember, you don't just get fat subcutaneously. That's just the part you see. The liver gets fat, and muscles get fat, and when all of a sudden you're still gaining weight and the body runs out of places to put it. So once it sticks in the liver, we get pretty screwed. It leads to that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which about 40 to 90% of overweight individuals have. And that's a crazy number, okay? Which is about 27 to 34% of the general population. So, but if we can get that stuff out of there, things start moving well, they handle sugar better, they handle fat better, they burn all these things better. Because that's the body's, like I said, once the liver gets fat, that sends all the signals out to our body. That's when things get screwed up. Okay, so of course the weight gains and poor eating habits continue. That's what causes the fatty liver, and that is a lot of oxidative stress. All right, so we have also the EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate from green tea for its potential fat metabolism, and it also is a liver purifier. It has the antioxidant properties used in medicine for that. And then, of course, the last one, the African mango, for its potential to improve weight loss through appetite control. And that's a new one we added. So this just shows you the different things. So choline, milk thistle, and acetylcysteine and EGCG on the enhance the liver. And then on this side, you still have, to increase energy, fat metabolism. You've still got EGCG and then African mango on the appetite side. This just kind of shows you all. And this is a study that just shows the African mango compared to placebo on weight loss. And I had to really look at this twice, but it's up there. It really says 28 pounds compared to 1.5. Even I don't believe it. So somehow, but it went through peer review and everything else. I don't think it's going to do that much for your clients, but that's the dosage that we put into the weight loss and liver support. But I can promise you it'll make a difference. All right, so summary of key points. Obviously, it's a non-stimulant fat reduction aid for overweight, obese people, and then just natural substances to support fat metabolism, liver health, especially overweight people with the extra liver fat. Works on a bunch of different levels. So here's the numbers. People always ask me for this, and this is all, again, in your PDSRG. But it's most important, like females greater than 32% body fat and males greater than 22%. And that's when you start to see the fatty liver come together. So this just tells you how to take it. 1 tab 3 times daily, 30 minutes before meals. And then there's my final thing. Discontinue after reaching fat loss goal. You don't need it after that. Or your life's under control and you don't need help anymore. Either way. It's not one of those lifetime things like a multi. Carb repair, very simple. It doesn't get any simpler than this. It really has one job, to inhibit the enzyme that helps you absorb carbs. So some of it just passes right on through. Your bacteria gets a chance to use it. And it also ends up lowering the glycemic index of high glycemic foods, obviously, because you're not getting it all in there. So it's been shown in studies to do all of those things. There's got some good, of all the carb blockers out there, this is definitely the best one, without a doubt. It's an amylase blocker. It's a significant percentage gets done. So I mean, basically, if you're eating, 2,000 calorie diet with 50% carbs, you can probably block a good 100 calories with this. And it depends on how many you take, because it is dose dependent. The more you would take, the more units that get into your body, the more amylase is going to get blocked. All right, so again, but the reason I like it is for people that are going to have too much, you can use it sporadically or use it, just anytime you're going to eat a lot of carbs. But it really is, carbs are important to dieting. You get the satisfaction of eating them. It also, because we're addicted to sweetness, so your body recognizes a carb as sweet, even if it doesn't taste sweet. The body does recognize it as a carbohydrate. That sense goes to the vagal nerve and goes to the brain and tells you, okay, that's okay, rather than starving yourself of carbs and then craving them like crazy. But this way, again, it's not one of those things that I commonly recommend to anybody. It's just people that do have, maybe eat a little more carbs than they should, but it would allow you to eat a reasonable amount of carbohydrates to satisfy cravings, and then you prevent a little of that stuff from being absorbed, so your calorie intake is going down, even though you're getting the satisfaction of eating it. And then secondarily, it can reduce the glycemic index of foods, so it reduces the spikes in blood sugar, which can help control the appetite as well. The studies are in there. The mechanism of action, Phaseolus vulgaris is the actual bean, And what they've done is it's actually called phase 2, so the carb controller. That's actually the company that did the patent on the extraction. It's extracted properly, and the size of the molecule is perfect. And that's really what separates this from all the rest of them, because it has been tested against the other carb blockers out there. While there's some other ones that work nicely, I cited a study here that shows this one is superior to all of those. All right, and then this just shows you. This is a very interesting one. Let me do the red there. Let me just talk to you about that for a second. If you look down there at the red, this is the study. It shows the enhanced weight loss versus placebo, and more importantly, the better maintenance in free living conditions. That's the difference. Okay, so here, look at the red. At the end of the weight loss study, the phase 2 group lost a mean amount of 6.4 pounds, which is not all that much. But remember, we're talking about free living, compared to 2 pounds with the placebo. During the weight maintenance phase, and this is huge, 36 of 49 people were able to maintain their weight, even without dietary restrictions. So that's huge, because obviously, I mean, that would save the world, because as 90% gain their weight back. So this is an amazing little, that's why I really like this particular study that they did on this one. Okay, so here's just a summary. I think we got it all there. This is the recommendation that we give. So anybody that's eating greater than 30% carbohydrates, I don't see it necessary for anybody else, unless they're going to have a big carbohydrate meal, and you can just use it for that. I know people that end up going out and drinking beer and having a few chips and stuff at a bar. Will pop about 3 or 4 of these before they go out. Party drug it. All right. Typical use for those that tend to overeat or enjoy carbohydrate. And of course, it's non-stimulant as well. And then again, discontinue after reaching fat loss goal until your lifestyle maintains. And 2 tablets twice daily. Now, here's the hard part, obviously. 2 tablets twice daily before your bigger meals, carbohydrate-containing meals. So you do have to set your phone, set an alarm, set your watch, whatever, to try to signal when it's time to take it. Now, yes, it does work. People ask this question. It does work if you take it with meals, just not as well as you can imagine. You want it prepared, so it's ideal 30 minutes before. You want it in there as it goes. Last one. Here we go. It's the big daddy, though, of course, ThermExcel. And it is a new. I'm going to give you the new formula. It'll be almost identical to the old formula, except we took one thing out and we put another one in, and here's what it looks like. So this is going to be very cool. I'm very excited about this one. We kind of it should have been out by now, but we kind of screwed up the timing on the current batch that we have in there. So you can see we still have the Carluma fibrata, okay, which is the appetite suppressant. The new product, the new ingredient here is Sinatrol, which is a trade name for 2 different polyphenols that act almost the same as like green tea, but from completely different mechanisms. Theanine, the calming effect, and then of course the thermogenic complex that takes your energy expenditure out. So these are just the numbers. I wanted you to see all this. I just didn't want to have to do this again, but it'll be available in about 15 weeks, that we said? Yeah, 15 weeks. Okay, now, goal simple, increase calorie burn without forcing more work. That's the whole idea, right? You don't want to tell someone, you got to do 20 more minutes of cardio to break your plateau. Well, I'd rather just increase the calorie burn if they're already doing an hour or they're already doing 30, right? Or we don't want to reduce their diet, right? Because that's just going to increase their appetite. So that's our goal, is to be able to induce, to control appetite and not have to force more work. And the rationale, obviously, is just to continue weight loss when those natural adaptations occur that we looked at. This addresses everything we talked about pretty much as well, including lean body mass, surprisingly, because it partitions the way you use fat rather than protein for energy. So this addresses both of these. Calories burned can be increased without adding more exercise, which is pretty cool, or needed added work is involuntary. In other words, spontaneous. They're making you move more during the day because you feel up. And that's the whole idea of the thermogenic blend, to make you feel up. So it's not just about burning more calories at rest, which it will. It will increase energy expenditure just like caffeine does, but also make you feel better throughout the day, so you just naturally, or what we call spontaneous energy, takes place greater than before. And now you can get through a plateau without having to reduce your calories. And then again, appetite can be controlled as well without further calorie restriction. And of course, this addresses both of those ideas. Okay. So here's a 3-pronged approach, right? This is just an overview. That's all I'm going to show you. And then I'm going to show you the slides after that you can use to really dig in and learn a little bit more. But the thermogenic complex is caffeine, yerba mate, and guarana, okay? And then it's got green tea extract, which is, a polyphenol. And then it's got capsaicin, right now, which is actually really headlining everything these days and other types of supplements. But when you put these all together, you really see they have additive effects to each other when it comes to the thermogenic aspect of it all, okay? So we can increasing your total daily energy expenditure and fat oxidation compared to placebo right across the board, independently and together. This is our new one. These are the polyphenols, Sinatrol, which is a combination of non-stimulant polyphenols that also contribute by different mechanisms to increasing fat oxidation. In other words, partitioning energy usage towards fat rather than protein or carbs. And then, of course, we still have Caralluma fibreata, which is the appetite suppressor. That's probably the strongest one that's out there today, natural plant. So here's basically, this is what you got here on your mechanisms of action. Caffeine, we all know how that works. Increases metabolic rate and fat oxidation through, stimulating the central nervous system. And that does that in many different ways, including in inhibition of the phosphodiesterase, which is the enzyme that degrades things that allow norepinephrine and epinephrine to continue to stay high and keep cyclic AMP high also. And then heat production and liver signals, and then stimulation of adenosine receptors. What I mean by that is it blocks it. So what happens is, and for those of you that you've probably heard me talk about this many times, but caffeine being a methylxanthine molecule, it looks just like an adenosine molecule. So what the adenosine receptors in your body are there so that you slow down. In other words, all the AMP, which is the byproduct of ATP, when it starts circulating around, the adenosine molecule ends up going to the adenosine receptor. Well, caffeine actually blocks it from getting there, and then you get the buildup of cyclic AMP, and that increases your cell activities, and that's how you stay awake with coffee. And then, of course, there's green tea extract at 270, which is the right dosage all the way around, and that increases your energy expenditure and your fat oxidation by inhibiting a different enzyme, the catechol-O methyltransferase, which is, COMT, obviously, and which is an enzyme that degrades these particular hormones. So you end up with, catecholamines. So you don't want that to happen. You want them up. So caffeine is stimulating them, but then naturally this enzyme is going to break them down. Now I can block that and PDE. Now you've got an additive effect between the two, and here's what that looks like. These are the mechanisms of action drawn out, okay? So what we just saw in the previous slide is all drawn out here. But here's what you end up with when you mix the two. This was a big, sort of watershed event back when DeLu et al. Did this, showed the increase in energy expenditure with caffeine and ECGs significantly above caffeine and, of course, placebo. This just shows the fat oxidation and caffeine and ECG together against placebo, but significant. And of course, these are the things that can help people not to get to their goal faster, but avoid that plateau in the first place. And then the capsaicin, which is, here you go, this is the completely now different mechanism of action to bump energy expenditure. And here's one I didn't know until I just started studying this recently. And I put this browning of white adipose tissue. And white adipose tissue is the crap we have, right? But, that shows to all the world, around our waist and everything else. But brown adipose tissue is the stuff around our organs that produces heat. Just all it does is use calories, doesn't store it. Well, capsaicin, which they've just recently discovered, I got the studies in there for you, can actually turn white fat to brown fat. So when you're on a high fat diet and you're on, or you're on any kind of diet and you're producing fat cells, those, as it shows here, the pre-adipocytes right there, capsaicin can actually turn that, instead of white adipose tissue, into brown. And now, so that's a 2-for-1. You're having less white adipose tissues, which is the stuff that's subcutaneous, and more brown, which means you can burn more calories. And then if you look at the next slide here, that's how brown fat actually works. It increases the uncoupling effect proteins, because all that does, it doesn't store, brown fat doesn't store fat, it just burns fat by continually using it for energy to produce heat. And that's why when you eat these things, like any kind of capsaicinoid, capsaicin being one, like in chili peppers or anything like this, you start sweating because your brown fat is being activated big time. So the right number in this mixed with other things, now you've got some pretty cool additive effect. Now that said, you need something to calm you down. That's why our Thermic Cell I argue, is the best when it comes to balancing a stimulant, and that is by theanine. And L-theanine increases GABA, which is the gamma aminobutyric acid, and that is an anti-stress molecule in the body. So that helps balance that caffeine stimulation. And then, of course, the appetite suppressant, which actually works through. It's actually an inhibit the actions of like an SSRI, which of course are your selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. That's what people use to, not just for depression, but also for appetite control. So it works through those same pathways. And then here it is, Sinatrol. This is a new one. So 600 milligrams of Sinatrol, just 2 different polyphenols, to improve the overall lipolytic activity by inhibiting this enzyme, the PDE, just like we saw caffeine does, and enhance fast oxidation though through actually gene expression. So this is quite unusual. I actually put it in here for you, and unfortunately you won't be able to see that. I was going to make this bigger. Let's see if I can for you, because this is kind of a cool drawing too. Yeah, there you go. See how it blocks both the enzymes we were just talking about, but through a different pathway. And that's really the cool part. So now we've got another helper in here, which we never had before. Because the Lepticor was something that I haven't seen any more studies on that one. So I wasn't really pleased with keeping it in there. And when this company came out with this and they bombarded us with the studies they did, it was quite significant. And then not only that, it plays into what we're doing with this product more than the Lepticor. So very pleased with this one here. And they're doing a lot of good work around this stuff. So this is just probably going to get better and better. So we might have solved that problem for everybody with their that fat loss redundancy, right? We're going to go after, there's so many different mechanisms here with this new product. But again, 15 weeks, but I just wanted to do it now. So you had it. All right, typical use, obviously, anyone without adverse events to stimulants. That's looking to, of course, accelerate weight loss. And then again, people that need serious multiple-pronged approach to weight control. This is the bomb. This is it right here. And of course, I wouldn't. Your program will automatically block that out. But if you're taking heart medications, you wouldn't be using it for anybody there. And you don't want to use any other stimulants within 4 hours. Okay, that's like the same thing with NO7 or any of those things, 4 hours apart. And then you would discontinue. Once you reach your fat loss goal or your life is under control. Maximum dose will be 4, but you start with 2 and see how that goes. 2 at breakfast and 2 with lunch, because you don't want to take it before dinner. No, probably not. I mean, you probably wouldn't want to take it too close to bedtime. That's the point. And this is a summary of the things we talked about. But bottom line is these combined ingredients have the ability to significantly increase metabolic rate and potential daily activities, which is your total calorie burn, and balancing those stimulating effects, suppress appetite through different mechanisms that would be cumulative and additive. And then, combining this combination would allow users to overcome the typical plateaus. That's the idea. And I always like to close with this part right here. With weight loss prescription drugs being deemed to have way too many negative side effects, including being yanked off the market, as we know, with minimal results, which we saw, there's high interest in products like this and other natural sources to assist in weight management. And that's why I put all those studies in there for you. It trumps. We can easily trump drugs on this one, and it's good for you. And then you guys, I just talked about what's in here. You notice I put lean pack 90 or whatever. It doesn't have to be 90 days. It can be whatever you want. We use all 3 of these when we have to do real fast weight loss, so of course you can. So you can use as directed, use over the 90 days, or if time is important, you can use it all at once. Anyway, this is the things that you get. It's got a complete menu. So, this was actually built before we even had our program built. We had all this, so they would have everything they needed in one little package. Great for challenges, for sure. The original purpose was for non-program users, just so you know. But you can get it. Of course, you can use it whether you're on the program or not. Rationale for cycling is really marketing, psychological timeline, 90 days, and it's financially palatable. 90 days it'll last you. So it's really that. But without a doubt, you can. The sequence is perfect because liver support, right, would be when you're the heaviest. Then after that, you flip over to something else. So you got the carb blockage coming in. Maybe some people don't actually need that. But the most aggressive products at the end, because those natural plateaus are hitting you, and they're way more common towards the end. So the sequencing of it is perfect as far as the cycling goes. And then you can use it just like that, or you can use it all together. Just use it each product as needed. You can use the Thermacell daily, weight loss liver support daily, and carb, and then you can use the carb repel anytime you're having high carbs. And that's the way you would use it altogether. And it's good to sell at challenges. Makes your job easy. So at the end of the day, here's results summary. Here's what we can do. Documented weight loss increases between supplementing versus not supplementing, right? Better than restricted calorie diets alone and better than drug therapies. So these are the things we can do. We can lessen the effort, workload, and pain in achieving sustained weight loss, increase lean body mass at the same time, which is, protected. 2 to 3 times more weight loss, as we saw in many of those slides. 9-fold better chance of maintaining it with meal replacements, which we saw on the slides as well. Less cravings, more energy, mood stress improvement, avoiding plateaus, faster continuing results for me. If I'm working with somebody, it means higher motivation to finish. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. Oh, I just kept this slide on here because this is a pretty cool slide. It took a little while to make this thing, but you can use it. You can stick this one up for sure somewhere. Really, I did. Okay, we're good. I know that it went a little longer than 40, but not too much because we started late. Anybody left? Anybody left that?
A whole bunch of people are still here, stuck around through all the heavy flying. So
apologize for the late start, everybody.
We're happy to start answering your guys' questions.
Yep.
So go ahead and open the questions tab in the GoToWebinar window. Type in what your question is, and we will field them for as long as you want.
Should I just turn this to my camera now? Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so the first
I'm
question.
going to take the, should I look, but this will still be up, right? So if I need it. Okay. I just want to make sure.
You ready for the first one, Neil?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay. So Brenda would like to know, does the reduction of carb absorption seen with Carb Repel also impact absorption of nutrients from those carbs? Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, it's the sugar molecule is already separated from the nutrients that are in there. As you know, as you ingest carbohydrate, you'll end up in the stomach first, starts to extract the sugar molecule, right, from the carbohydrate. So it could be a sucrose molecule, it could be just a long glucose polymer that has the nutrients buried in it, right? So that's already happening in the stomach. And your absorption of glucose takes place in the intestines, but it's got to be by itself. So that's why it is the carbohydrate is blocked, but it's not blocking the nutrients that are part of it. Now, you might, if one got stuck on there, it probably wouldn't even get through. It'd have to, because it's got to go through its own transporter some other place. But yeah, so it's just that's why it lowers the glycemic index of foods, and you're still getting the nutrition. Excellent question.
Cool. Okay. Hey, Casey. Casey would like to know how many grams of carbohydrates can be eliminated with the use of one Carb Repel. Sounds like a Casey question.
I know what one would do, but I think we have you take 2, right? I think the recommendation is 2. So if you're taking 2 before, and if you were eating, let's say 100 grams of carbs, you could probably block about 20%. And that number, we actually have that number in the PDSRG. So Casey, and I know it's you, Casey, go up there and look at the PDSRG and read it yourself, and you'll get, but it's about 20%.
So, and for those of you who aren't familiar with the PDSRG, it's our reference guide, right? It stands for Practitioner Dietary Supplement Reference Guide. If you're in your trainer account on dotfit.com and you open up the navigation window, there's a link.
Turn that up.
And if you click on research, it'll open up all the documents, basically our dossiers, if you will, for every single product. It's essentially a white paper with a summary of all the research. So that's what he's referring to.
And that's where all these references that you see in here, those diagrams, everything you see is housed in there. And it's written for a scientist, so, but the summaries are not. You go all the way down to the bottom, that's the part that's important to you. But for those geeks out there, and I know there's a ton of you because I see you all the time when I'm in the clubs, you guys beat the shit out of me with questions that are difficult to answer. So trust me, that it's written. You guys, there's lots of cool stuff in there you would enjoy. I always challenge everybody, and Kat, you've heard me say this. I go, hey, listen, pick one product and spend 2 weeks reading the PDSRG on that one product. One paragraph one day, another paragraph another day, a page another day, and then take 2 weeks and really understand it. You find some really fascinating stuff.
Couldn't agree with you more. And then for those of you who want just a quick reference guide, there's also something called the QRG, Quick Reference Guide, in your trainer account. And that's basically a one-page summary of all the research for each of the for products with the references as well. Okay, so Kevin wants to know, what is the minimum age for a user to use the products? And I think it depends on what you're talking about, Kevin, but go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, well, first of all, the lean MR for anyone, that doesn't matter, right? Any age. But ThermExcel, weight loss, liver support, or carb repel, we just don't, we say 18 or over. It's just, it's a CYA thing, and none of it's going to hurt anybody. If I had an obese child, they'd be taking a liver support, weight loss and liver support immediately, and lean MR, and a multivitamin, and that's what I would do. So you're certainly safe doing it, but the CYA thing, cover your ass thing, is always 18 or over for anything other than your proteins, your multivitamin, your calcium, and your fish oil, when it gets right down to that.
Okay, great. So Richard wants to know, should any of these products not be taken with other supplements or foods? Yeah,
no, there's no foods at all. But I suppose if you were eating like red hot chili peppers, like thousands of them, you might want to mix the ThermExcel instead. So maybe you got me on that one. No, I eat foods, no problem at all. But with other supplements, yeah, weight loss, liver support, your dial, no problem. Carb repel, obviously, the only time you need it is if you're consuming a lot of carbs, consuming carbs. So there's no problem there either. But ThermExcel, yeah, you want to stay away from anything that's got stimulants. And people don't realize what has stimulants today. Caffeine is in everything because it's the hottest thing going. Between caffeine and protein, there's nothing hotter. So, I mean, kids are drinking energy drinks. So, we talk about over 18. Hell, ThermExcel is a hell of a lot safer than these energy drinks these kids are pounding all day long, every 2 hours. So you've got all kinds of things there and the government's actually trying to get laws passed about how many energy drinks in kids. But yeah, you're just stacking things on top of things. Like take NO7, for instance. You take NO7 and then you're all done with your workout, but it's only 2 hours from now. You still got caffeine in your body. The half-life of caffeine is 4 to 6 hours, which means it's still working up to that point, right? So that's why we say 4 hours in between, and then you can do another dose. So be careful about that. Make sure if anything with stimulant, I don't care what kind of stimulant it is. It doesn't have to be caffeine. It can be anything. Yerba mate. It can be any of these things. You want to stay away from those things when you're using ThermExcel, about 4 hours in between. And Workout Extreme also has, of course, Therm as well. So Workout Extreme and NO7 are the other two things that have caffeine or stimulants in them.
Okay, great. Susan wants to know what's the maximum number of meal replacements that can be used on a daily basis?
Okay, so under doctor supervision, that's all you get. If you're an obese person, doctors actually literally the first 4 months, if you're morbidly obese, they'll put you on like a MetaFast program where there's nothing but meal replacements. You've got to have blood work regularly. You have to be monitored regularly, heart, kidney, liver function, everything. But rapid weight loss, I mean, way better than any type, as long as it's doctor managed. Now, in our world, I really like to say this. It really depends on how many calories. If you're eating 2,000 calories a day, you could have 3 a day. I like whole food, two meals of whole food. So I would go 1,200 calories or even more if you had a 2,000 calorie diet. 1,200 calories of whole food, 600 here, 600 here. That's a lot of food. If it's good food, that's a lot. And then you can do 200-300 calorie shakes. Now you've got, 1,800 calories? And almost anybody's going to lose weight on that if they're doing any kind of working out at all. They'll end up with losing weight on that. So that's what I like. But maximum-wise, there really isn't. The law says it can't be any more than, it can never be more than a third of your diet in calories. That's the law, unless it's medically supervised. Right around there.
Cool. Okay. So the next question is there a concern about a rebound effect from using these products?
No. Well, that's a fair question. As we know, the rebound effect from dieting is going to be way worse. So I don't think this will change that. I don't think this will make it any worse, right? Let's take ThermExcel though. I could see people getting really sort of, not wanting to give it up because it is a good burn. It's a great burn all the way around. But, I would rather have coffee. So I would give it up. If I was using it, like, let's say I had ready for a photo shoot, I would probably use it for 3 months. Because it'd be a much more comfortable way of losing weight. But I'm motivated enough to be able to say, I'm not going to take that anymore. I'm going to go back to drinking coffee. Because once you're using Thermexcel, it's hard to have a good cup of coffee. You know what I mean? Unless you get your first ones in the morning, wait a couple hours, then you can take your Thermexcel. So I would rather do that. But no, there's none that I would make it would be any worse of a chance of a rebound than just regular dieting. In fact, I would say probably less of a chance.
Okay, great. Ernesto wants to know what supplements can help with getting cramps after exercising.
Oh, getting cramps after exercise? The only thing that we know that reduces cramping is creatine. And it's funny how back in the 90s when it first came out, everybody go, oh, this causes cramps. Actually, people that use creatine cramp 7 times less than people that don't use it. Isn't that funny? So that study's in there. It's in the PDSRG. It's in there under myths, creatine and cramping in the creatine monohydrate section. Big, long thing that I just finished about 2 years ago on updated on creatine. So that's not the only thing there. There's some sodium bicarbonate. There's some other things on the market you can buy. You know, there's some recommendations from pharmacists, but nothing's really solved that problem. Obviously, hydration, you know, is one of the most important things. You know, getting those electrolytes, you know, during your workout, because maybe your body doesn't, you know, keep the electrolytes going in a proper way. Cramping is extremely genetic, and the older you get, the worse they become with a lot of exercise. I never got cramps when I played ball. And even through bodybuilding, even dieting and dehydrating for competition and posing on stage, very rarely cramp. But now that I'm 67, shit, I just jump out of bed half the time. My calf locks up and from really nothing. That's old guy stuff.
Okay. Perla wants to know, should Lean Pack be cycled or is it safe to use continuously throughout the year?
Okay, let me think about that for a minute. It really depends on the person. I don't know. You know, I'm just not that guy. When you're using supplements like that, specialty weight loss, I'm not that guy that wants people to use that year round, right? Now, I know people that have done it. They do a weight loss challenge, like at the Edge or like we've done before, Crunch. They will buy the pack, and then when they come back and do it again next year or next time, they'll buy a pack again. Absolutely fine. But there should be somewhere in there where you're functioning with your meal replacement, your multi along the way. I think that you know, it's probably not a great idea. I don't see any danger to it or anything like that. I would just rather see you, you know, do it a little without that, maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah, and to Neil's point earlier, these are all to be used. We're talking about the pill products in Lean Pack 90 now, right? As a temporary aids to make it a little easier or help it, you know, help the journey speed along a little bit faster. But they're not to be used indefinitely per se, because the ultimate goal is for them to change change some eating habits and get their life back control. Right?
Yeah, and this just gets them over that diet hump pretty nicely, you know. And anybody that's got to get, you know, a few pounds off here and there quickly, I mean, these things work great.
Okay, well, I don't see any more questions coming in. Does anybody have any more questions you can put in? And just a reminder, we have the handout, the slides that Neil presented, along with all the references in the handout section of the GoToWebinar window as a PDF. We'll also be posting the recording online to share with your team members and your staff, along with a handout as well. And if you guys don't have any more questions, Neil, do you got anything else? Do you want to close it up for us?
I want to tell you, listen, next month, our subject is Kat, what?
Popular diets.
Popular diet, and Kat's doing it.
I am.
So you guys don't have to listen to me again. I'll be on it for sure, obviously. Oh, in fact, I'll introduce her for you.
Yeah. So just
I'll take the other side. So it's going to be very, I mean, I'll tell you what, I would argue next to a few supplement questions we continually get, I would think the biggest questions we get from you guys, you fit pros out there, are popular diets. Can you give us some ammunition about this stuff or some information about it?
Yeah.
All right. So this will be a fascinating one you don't want to miss. It's always great to keep you guys. Listen, I know we record these, and I'm always afraid we lose a little bit of an audience because of that. But it's more importantly to have you on here so you can ask questions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this is about. You can always get your questions answered. And you guys know our emails: neil@dotfit.com, kat@dotfit.com. Anything you weren't able to ask, you just send it to us, and we will answer that thing. And certainly always within 24 hours.
Okay, so just to give you guys a little bit of a preview, I read a ton of studies on intermittent fasting, including time-restricted eating. We'll cover the ketogenic diet, the latest on that, the paleo diet, and then I was just at the International Society of Sports Nutrition conference, so I got the latest and greatest from that conference to share with you guys as well. So I can't wait to share that information with you. Please invite your team members and your staff. And then Rob is on the webinar, and he reminded me, Neil, what about the unflavored whey? When is that coming out with the flavor?
Today. Unflavored whey came out today. So
Wow.
unflavored pre-post and unflavored came out today. It's on the website. Go up to the website and you will see it. Thanks, Rob, for reminding. Yeah, it's time to rock and roll with those unflavored proteins, man. And I just did I just shot a video, so that video will be available too. You can like play that thing with your clients and stuff. I mean, this thing it's really cool. I mean, this I think is one of the greatest things we've ever done. When you got all these different flavors, and it's again as natural as can be, no artificial flavors or sweeteners, so you can do whatever you want to it, right? And then you got our flavor packs you can add or not. Like I said, you can do anything you want to it. Just put in all your natural fruits or whatever. But now the whey, NSF certified, unnatural, and then of course pre-post has been out for a while, which you guys have all been doing. So it doesn't get any better. And by the way, the superstar flavor is birthday cake. Everyone is dying with that birthday cake, which I figured they would because that's the #1 seller right now in protein powders. Birthday cake. Wait till you taste this one to die for. Yeah. So by the way, everybody, I'll be at the Edge. I'll be on the East Coast, New Jersey, Connecticut, and New York next week. So I'll be there a whole week, actually. My boy Brian's getting married, so he's got a bachelor party. I got to stay the extra day for that. But I'll be seeing a lot of you people on the East Coast next week. I'm doing town halls all through those different states. So looking forward to seeing you in the field.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a good day. We'll see you next month.